posted a rant the other day with this, and I got a little bit too ranty, and I just wanted to redo it and just say, people really do want to help when they see a sick fish. And I really do love, the support that people will give people. But it's just helpful if you get a full picture before you throw out medications. Because, as I've said 100 times, medications are harsh. So if you have a fish that's already ill and you're dumping unnecessary medications in there, you can just make it worse. Point and example was this fish. Somebody posted a picture of this fish on the forum I admin. And immediately people started in with, that fish has velvet, that fish has fin rot, that fish has fungus, treat it with an antifungal, treat it with an anti-parasite, treat it with an antibacterial. And when I reached out personally to the person, this happened overnight. And the fish did have some redness creeping up. What had happened is, like 2 weeks before, or a week and a half before, she had added a pleco. She had a somewhat established smaller tank, but was only doing like 30% water changes, and she added a pleco, which I don't advise because they do attack goldfish, but that's beside the point. And she did not compensate for any extra water changes. Now, one thing, if your tank is cycled and you add another fish, it's cycled for that amount of ammonia. It is not cycled for 2, so you have to temporarily up your water changes. Plus, they were in a smaller 30-gallon tank, not really adequate for, double that ammonia right away. And so what happened is the redness started creeping like a week and a half down the road, meaning the nitrates were getting out of control. I've addressed this before. Redness in the fins, redness creeping up in the body. That is sepsis, but most often it is sepsis caused by nitrate poisoning. So she did a water change, and boom, the next day the fish looked like this. What happened? Well, it's a known issue that neglected tanks, when you're not doing large water changes, the pH will drop. I'm not exactly sure what about it. I'm not big into the chemistry, but I just know that pH will drop, and that's why people who neglect their tanks for a while, then do a large water change, risk pH shock in their fish because their fish aren't used to it, and there's such a big swing between the neglected tank and the tap water. Now, at lower pH, ammonia is less toxic. So when she did a water change, you think that would make it better, but now she has re-upped the pH, and the ammonia that's in there now becomes that much more toxic. So during the night, the pleco died. That dumped even more ammonia. Now, the other half of the people were saying the pleco feasted on this goldfish and caused the damage, sucked off the slime coat. But the pleco died. So what this was straight up water quality. I really would have recommended super clean water and some salt, 1 to 2 teaspoons. My go-to is 1 to 2 teaspoons per gallon of uniodized salt or aquarium salt. And yes, because the redness is that advanced, possibly some Canaplex, some sulfa, something to combat the septicemia. However, this fish doesn't have fin rot, it doesn't have fungal, and it doesn't have parasite. It had water quality issues. And unfortunately, people were throwing all these information out, had her pulling the fish out, putting it in a different tank right away. Probably, shocked it. I'm not sure, but it died. Sad, yes. But my point is one, you need to get the full story. Just like when you're going to the doctor, you want the doctor to listen to everything that's wrong with you before they say, hey, this is what I think it is. You need to figure out all the stuff before you decide what's wrong with the fish and how to treat it. And 2, this is why I advocate for large water changes 1 to 2 a week. I do 70%, sometimes more, twice a week on my fish tanks. Why? Because then nothing ever has a chance to build up in your system. Nothing ever has a chance to get way off between the tap and then that. And as long as you do that all the time, your water quality will stay good as long as you're not massively overstocked, and your fish will just benefit for it, and that way, peace of mind, you don't have to worry about anything building up in your tanks. So I can't stress enough, this fish right here is one of the reasons I advocate for large water changes once or twice a week.